The rain was falling hard that night, the kind of rain that blurred the city lights into streaks of gold and silver. On the marble steps of a towering glass building, a billionaire sat alone with his head in his hands, and no one noticed. His expensive suit was soaked. His phone kept ringing. His empire was collapsing, and the only person who stopped to listen to him was a homeless man. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, and share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances. And if stories about humanity, redemption, and unexpected heroes move you, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a story like this again. The city of New York never truly slept, but there were moments when it felt strangely empty. Midnight storms had a way of washing away the noise of traffic and crowds, leaving only echoes of footsteps and distant sirens. On that particular night, Daniel Whitmore sat on the cold steps outside the headquarters of Whitmore Technologies, a company he had built from nothing into a billion-dollar empire. Daniel Whitmore had everything people dreamed of: private jets, luxury penthouses, media interviews that called him a genius. For years, magazines described him as the symbol of success in the modern world. But tonight, none of it mattered. Inside the building behind him, executives were scrambling through crisis meetings. Stock prices were crashing. Investors were threatening lawsuits. A massive technology failure had exposed millions of customers to financial risk, and the media had already started calling it the worst corporate disaster of the decade. Daniel's hands trembled as he stared at his phone. Every notification felt like another nail in the coffin of the life he had spent 20 years building. For the first time since he was 23 years old, Daniel Whitmore didn't know what to do. The rain poured harder, soaking the marble steps. Employees hurried past him under umbrellas, barely noticing their own CEO sitting there in the storm. In their eyes he was untouchable, powerful, distant. No one imagined he could be broken. But he was. Across the street, beneath the flickering glow of a broken street lamp, sat a man wrapped in an old gray coat. His beard was thick and uneven, his hair messy, and beside him rested a small cart filled with a few blankets and worn belongings. People had passed him all evening without a glance. His name was Samuel. For years, Samuel had lived on those streets. Some nights he slept under bridges. Other nights he found shelter near subway entrances where warm air drifted from underground tunnels. He had seen every kind of person walk past him. The wealthy who pretended he didn't exist. The rushed commuters who kept their eyes glued to their phones. The occasional stranger who offered a sandwich or spare change. But tonight something felt different. Samuel noticed the man sitting alone in the rain. At first glance he looked like just another businessman who had stayed too late at work. But there was something about the way he sat there, completely still, shoulders heavy, staring at nothing. Samuel had seen that posture before. It was the posture of someone whose world had just fallen apart. Slowly, Samuel stood up and pushed his cart across the wet street. The rain soaked through his coat, but he didn't seem to care. When he reached the steps, he sat down 2 steps away from the stranger. For a moment neither of them spoke. The billionaire stared at the pavement, his voice barely above a whisper when he finally spoke. He said he had lost everything. He said 20 years of work had collapsed in one day. He said the people who once praised him were now tearing him apart on television. He said he had tried to fix it, but every solution only made the disaster worse. And then, almost like a child confessing defeat, Daniel Whitmore said something he had never said in his entire life. He said he didn't know how to fix it. Samuel listened quietly. Rain dripped from the edge of his coat. Cars rushed past in the distance. For a long time, he didn't say anything. Then he gave a small, calm nod. And he said something that sounded almost impossible. He said, "I can fix it." Daniel looked at him for the first time. The man speaking those words had no home, no clean clothes, no signs of success. He looked like someone the world had forgotten. Daniel almost laughed. But there was something about Samuel's eyes that stopped him. They weren't desperate or broken. They were calm. The kind of calm that only comes from someone who has already lost everything once before. Samuel didn't talk about technology or stock markets. Instead, he asked Daniel a question no one else had asked him that day. He asked Daniel why he had built the company in the first place. Daniel was confused by the question. Investors had been calling him nonstop, lawyers had been giving legal strategies, executives had been shouting solutions. No one had asked something so simple. At first Daniel answered automatically. He said he built the company to innovate, to disrupt industries, to create technology that would change the world. Samuel shook his head slowly. Then he asked again, "Why did you really build it?" The rain softened, and the city seemed quieter. Daniel thought back 20 years. He remembered a small apartment with peeling paint. He remembered working 2 jobs while writing code through the night. He remembered the day his mother couldn't afford medical treatment because the system had failed her. That was the real reason. He had built the company to create technology that made financial systems safer and more transparent. He wanted to protect ordinary people from losing everything the way his family once had. Samuel nodded again. Then he said something Daniel would remember for the rest of his life. He said companies don't collapse because of problems. They collapse when they forget why they exist. The billionaire sat silently. Inside the building behind them, executives were still arguing about damage control and legal defense. They were trying to protect profits, reputation, and power. But none of them were thinking about the people the company was meant to help. Samuel told Daniel that fixing the problem wasn't about hiding the failure. It was about facing it honestly. Samuel had once been a mechanical engineer. Years earlier he had designed equipment for a manufacturing company that cut corners to increase profits. When a machine failure injured several workers, the company blamed the engineers and buried the truth. Samuel refused to stay silent. He lost his job. His savings disappeared during the long legal battle. His marriage collapsed under the pressure. Within 2 years, the life he had built was gone. But he never regretted telling the truth. Because the truth, he said, is the only thing that can rebuild trust. The rain stopped completely now. For the first time that night, Daniel Whitmore stood up. He looked at the glass building behind him, where his company's future was being decided by fear and damage control. Then he made a decision. The next morning shocked the entire business world. Instead of denying the disaster, Daniel Whitmore held a press conference and admitted everything. He explained the technical failure, accepted responsibility, and announced that the company would spend billions compensating every affected customer. Investors panicked. News channels predicted bankruptcy. Analysts said the decision would destroy the company completely. But something unexpected happened. Customers began posting messages online thanking the company for its honesty. Technology experts praised the transparency. Employees who had felt ashamed the night before suddenly felt proud again. Trust, something far more valuable than money, began slowly returning. Over the next year, Whitmore Technologies rebuilt its systems from the ground up. The company lost billions in the short term, but it gained something far more powerful. Respect. And the strange part of the story, the part no one in the media ever knew, was where the idea truly came from. Not from lawyers, not from executives, but from a homeless man sitting in the rain. Months later, on a warm spring morning, Daniel returned to the same street corner where he had first met Samuel. But Samuel was gone. The broken street lamp had been repaired. The sidewalk was clean. Commuters rushed past like any other day. For a moment Daniel worried he might never find him again. Then he saw him across the park, sitting on a bench feeding small pieces of bread to pigeons. Daniel walked over slowly. Samuel looked up and smiled as if he had been expecting him. Daniel told him the company had survived. He told him thousands of customers had stayed loyal because of the honesty they showed. And he told him something else. He said he wanted Samuel to come work with the company as a consultant. Samuel laughed softly. He said he didn't need an office or a title. But he would accept one thing. He wanted Daniel to promise that the company would never again forget the people it was built to protect. Daniel promised. And in that moment, the billionaire realized something that changed him forever. The man sitting on that park bench had nothing, yet he possessed a kind of wisdom no business school could teach. Sometimes the people the world calls successful are still searching for answers. And sometimes the people the world ignores already know them. Before we finish, if this story touched your heart in any way, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. And here's a special request just for you. Comment the word kindness below if you believe that wisdom, compassion, and second chances can come from the most unexpected people. Because the truth is simple. That night in the rain, a homeless man didn't just help a billionaire save his company. He helped him remember what truly mattered. And sometimes, that's the greatest fix of all.